We are here for the first ever BBGK online podcast, and we have our very own Ben Bradford as the first guest. So, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So we want to start off this podcast with a tradition. So like a quick fire 3 questions just to get to know you. Bit of an icebreaker. Question 1, who is your all-time favourite goalkeeper?
God, that's a tricky question. My all-time favourite goalkeeper. Right now, currently, I'd say it's Alisson.
Liverpool.
Always liked him. Yeah, loved him from when he was at Roma. Brilliant goalkeeper, just everything he does. Yeah, inspires me. If we're going back from when I was a child, I'd probably say it's got to be Peter Schmeichel.
Yeah?
It's got to be, yeah. I think he started the game. I think he's one of the first pioneers of the goalkeeping department that changed the game a bit.
Yeah, he definitely sticks out in my mind, just for the goals that he scored as well.
Yeah. I remember that one, wrote a Voldegrad, I think it was, a header. Yeah.
But, yeah, Peter Schmeichel was always one that definitely stood out to me.
Oliver Kahn.
Kahn was so aggressive.
Yeah, aggressive goalkeeper, yeah.
Yeah.
Won everything.
I remember watching like a few reels, and he's just like a whirlwind on the pitch.
To be fair, there is another one I'm going to throw in there, actually, that is a favourite of mine.
Yeah.
Casillas.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Captained his team to the World Cup, Euros, multiple Champions Leagues.
Yeah.
Unbelievable goalkeeper.
Yeah. I remember us playing against him a few times and it wasn't great. Well, for us anyway.
The Galacticos.
What are your all-time favourite football boots?
In my opinion, I would say Copa Mundials. Yeah, they're my favourite. Probably a bit bland for the kids because I know they all like the bright boots and the pink and yellow colours.
Well, that's like the way it's gone today as well, with like the brighter colours. Sort of it started getting introduced when I was getting a little bit older, and I always sort of used to shy away from that. I always preferred the plain boots, like the Copas or the Tiempos. Or
Yeah, Nike Tiempo boots are good. As I've got older, I think you can't get away. Coaches can't be wearing like multicoloured boots. They look a bit silly. So, yeah, try tone it down. But the Coppers, I think you get, great value for them. Leather's fantastic.
yeah,
Nice, plain, simple, classic boot.
it's kangaroo leather, isn't it?
Kangaroo leather, German made. Been around since the 70s, so fantastic boot.
Any honourable mentions?
Yeah, there is some honourable mentions. You know what I'm going to say.
I know what you're going to say.
Adidas Predators, the originals.
Yeah.
Yeah, the accelerators were fantastic. Love them.
I know you've got a soft spot for the David Beckham, Zinedine Zidane era ones as well.
Yeah, that's the accelerator. The
Yeah.
98 version, yeah, beautiful boots, class. Yeah, they were a pioneer. When they come out, that was a real top boot that really, with the Mercurials, do you remember the Nike Mercurials?
I had Mercurials. I always found that the Mercurials were for almost like a thinner foot, or Nikes in general, personally.
They were made...
Apart from the Tiempos, I would say they were like for a thinner foot, whereas the Adidas, like the Predators, the Copas, they were made for like a slightly wider foot. So I sort of struggled, because I was always a Nike fan of boots growing up. My favourites were always the R9s. I remember...
Yeah, they were a lovely boot.
I remember...
They were a striker's boot.
They were a striker's
boot. You didn't see, I was
yeah.
going to say, you didn't see many goalkeepers wearing the Nike Mercurials.
No, you didn't.
But yeah, that's an honourable mention as well. That is a top boot.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to wear a pair again, because they did a re-release, and I remember looking at the prices thinking, this is now a collector's item. You'd never pay what they're selling them for and playing them,
No,
Yeah.
not at all.
What football team do you support and why?
Well, I'm sure you'll all know that I'm an avid Liverpool fan. Obviously, from my accent, you wouldn't have guessed it. I'm not an honourable Scouser. But Liverpool, ever since I was little, I used to watch when I was probably like 8 or 9. All my family are Liverpool fans. I used to watch the European games on ITV. And the Anfield environment just, drew me in. As I always say, I don't think you choose the club, I think the club chooses you.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've had some ups in the last few years, but I've had some really bad lows with them.
Well, I feel your pain, especially at the moment.
Yeah, you're a
So,
Manchester United fan, aren't you?
no, Chelsea.
Oh, of course you are. You're Chelsea.
Chelsea boy, yeah. I remember, you might remember the game back in the day, I think it was the FA Cup, where Chelsea were playing Liverpool and Zola. It was like the days of Zola. It was like late 90s or mid 90s, late 90s.
That's the one where you beat us.
4-2. You was
I
2-0
remember
up.
Vialli scored.
That's right. I remember it so vividly.
Mark Hughes.
Yep. I don't know if Zola scored in that game.
He did.
Yeah.
I remember that game. It broke my heart.
Now we've got those questions out of the way, I'd like to move on to the first half of the podcast. Tell me a little bit about your story. So how did you get started in football, and particularly then sort of goalkeeping?
I started, believe it or not, as a left winger. Used to play for Rayleigh Boys, local side. Loved it. And I was actually okay at it. It was quite quick, believe it or not, even though I don't look it now. Left-footed. Played probably till I was about 12, 13. And then I moved to a club, Fairfax Rangers, which was another local club. But we had a good team. We won everything in the local areas. And our goalkeeper was really good. He broke his hand, I believe, and I went in goal because no one else wanted to do it.
Did you volunteer or?
Yeah, volunteered. Yeah,
Oh,
just
okay.
volunteered. Just went, I fancy it. I used to do a little bit in the training and
Yeah.
always enjoyed it, but never thought anything of it. And sort of, went into it and ended up, when I was covering him, ended up loving it. And just
Yeah.
it evolved. And obviously when the guy come back who broke his hand, he'd never quite come back to play again. So
Yeah.
I ended up just, taking it permanently and never looked back, really.
So did you sort of strive to go on to play? Because I know you played West Ham Youth, didn't you?
Yes.
So was that like a goal that you had in mind, or did it sort of just happen? Or
No,
did
it just happened. I'm one of them. I just love football.
Yeah.
That's grassroots football. Kids nowadays, they should just be enjoying the game. And if you enjoy it, you end up getting where you want to be at some point if you work hard enough. It just sort of evolved. I think I'd gone from, we had a really good season. I tend to found that I had quite good reflexes and agility. So where we was playing, I think I got picked up from a guy called Mel Capleton, who was the ex-Southend United goalkeeper.
Right.
And he brought me over for a trial. And I was like, when my dad said to me, look, going over to Southend for a trial, I was like, really? I don't even think I'm that good.
Right.
So it was like a bit, bit of a strange situation because I didn't really believe I was that good a goalkeeper. I just enjoyed it. It was more
Right.
for fun rather than actually believing it myself.
Yeah.
And then, sort of progressed from there onwards and done well. Got a contract down there. And unfortunately, how I went to West Ham, bit of a sad situation, but Les Seeley, great West Ham Manchester United goalkeeper, he was a coach at West Ham, obviously.
Yeah.
He had a heart attack, which his boys were playing in the teams at the time, the under-19s and 17s. So obviously the boys had a bit of time off, and they called Southend, can we have someone up on trial?
Right.
And that's how I went up there.
Oh, wow.
And ended up going up there, and that was a bit surreal.
Yeah.
Played a few games for them, and loved it. Yeah,
I bet that was...
it was amazing.
Yeah, like obviously I've never played at that level. I sort of dipped my toe into semi-pro at Thurrock very, very briefly, and I found that the standard of what I was used to go into that semi-pro was just night and day, and then to become pro on top of that, it's just I couldn't imagine.
Yeah, it's quick. It's a lot quicker. The speed's quicker. I think, when you're going up to the next level, it's a lot more. You've got to be a bit more intelligent as football intelligence as such. It's faster pace. The end route is get the ball up the other end as quick as you can to score a goal. That's the whole aim of football. So
Yeah.
the players become quicker. There's no sitting on the ball. You can't take that step over or such, which makes it harder. The shots come quicker as a goalkeeper. You're
Yeah.
not expecting them, and it's just like one hit and, it can be a goal, so you've got to react quicker.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, listen, it's, fantastic environment. And yeah, working with kids like that, it does push you on.
Yeah.
So
How would you say the academy back then has evolved from what it is today, from what it was back then? Because obviously you attended as a keeper back then,
yeah,
but you've worked there as a coach. So
yes.
have you noticed like a contrast?
It's massively evolved. When I played as such, it wasn't as the Premier League was massive. It always has been, but today's game is, they're athletes now.
Yeah.
There's so much more micro details that are put into the sessions. The coaching's far better
Yeah.
than whatever I received back in the day. And that's not to say the coaches weren't good; they were fantastic. But now everything is scrutinised to the finest detail, which,
Yeah.
it's massive for the kids. They're learning every day. The training sessions, they're training 2-3 times a week with games on top of that. So there's more room to see progression in the kids, what they're learning. If they're making a mistake, they can hone in on it. Why are they doing that? And when I played, it was you go training twice a week, some shots, crossing, shot stopping.
Yeah.
And then you go home and you play the weekend. But now, especially in the goalkeeping department, I find they're looked after really well. So
Yeah.
the kids are they really are. If there's a question, they can ask it, and then the coach will always pick up on it and help them through it, which is, it's massive.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know exactly how many keepers you've got now, but I know you've got quite a substantial amount every week. What is it that drives you to teach the younger generation? And in the same breath, I know that you do have some kids that come from like 2.5 hours away, or 2 hours, 2.5. That's like a 4 to 5 hour round trip just to come to BBGK. What do you think it is that keeps, in particular, those keepers coming to you?
We've got a great sense of community. All my coaches are fantastic. We buy into the children, which
Who's your favourite coach?
Who's my favourite coach? I better not say that on camera. They're all as good as each other. They're fantastic. Without them, BBGK can't be what it is. It's, I'm just part of a cog, and they're the ones that make the wheel spin. So congratulations to them for being as successful as we are.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for us, I'd like to say that where we have that close community spirit and we get to know every kid personally.
Yeah. I noticed actually that you knew everybody's name when I came over to sort of film the promo video and stuff like that. Every single kid was fist bumping each other. You knew every parent's name, and it was really admirable actually to see that you put the time and the effort into actually getting to know them personally.
I think you have to. That's not no business ploy. I think it's just something that, as a human, if you're working with people, you want to know what makes them tick.
Yeah.
How do you get the best out of a kid if you don't know their name?
Yeah.
If I walked into a place and, you're going to go do some kind of work and people don't know your name and you've been there 2-3 weeks, it's not very personable.
Yes.
Every child, I find, if you buy into, what team they support, little things. We have little quirks at the academy now. So with a lot of the goalkeepers, they have a bit of banter with Ryan, who's a Luton Town fan. So if I know, not by choice, I wouldn't have hoped.
Have to get him on the next one.
But yeah, so with Ryan, he'll have a bit of a joke. The kids all know he's a Luton Town fan. So obviously, if they do get thumped, the kids come in and they will give him a bit of banter. And that is, that's part of it. The kids love that, and they buy into the coaches as well through that.
Yeah.
And and that is, I find, the success story where a lot of the kids need that.
Yeah.
It can't be robotic, come in, do the session, go home. You've got to buy into what they're doing, what they're trying to achieve. They're going to have ups, they're going to have downs, and you've got to be there to support them all the way through it.
Yeah, like the mental health side of goalkeeping as well, because it doesn't just teach you about goalkeeping, but it teaches you about sort of discipline.
Yeah,
your everyday life.
We do that. I'm massive for discipline and commitment. It's how I was brought up as such. So was always told, if you don't work hard, you're not going to get what you're striving to achieve. if I walked into a changing room for a trial and my boots were dirty or my gloves were dirty or I didn't comb my hair, I would feel that I wasn't giving my all. So for me, we're massive here that, you know, look after your stuff, look after your football boots, clean them. Mum and dad haven't got to do that. You know, I mean, if you're an under 7 or 8, I get that. Mum and dad would have to do it. But when you start at 9s, 10s, 11s, 12s, look after the tools that you're provided. Mum and dad go out and buy them for you.
Yeah.
If you look after them, it's a good life lesson for when you get older. And you know, I always say, if you look the part, you play the part.
Yeah, I agree with that actually. Yeah.
You need to be, you know, it's a fresh mind.
Yeah.
You know, and that's massive for me. As regarding to like discipline, we have every coach I put in. We have like monthly discussions about how we can improve and other bits we do. When I first set BBGK up, we had this rules and regulations, which I put in roughly similar to academy level, where not only the parents have to sign the consent form about, you know, social media, using the kids in our videos and, you know, religions, if there's any injuries they've got that we need to be aware of before they train.
Yeah.
We brought out one for the children. So we have like our consent form for the children when they come in, just some rules to adhere to, and that would be anything from like, when you turn up, you have to give your best for that hour.
Yeah.
We expect, you know, like here, for me, we're not here to coach energy levels. It's just a given.
Yeah.
Technical side, anything to do with goalkeeping from techniques, abilities, fitness, that's something that, you know, I'm massive on, that we coach, but I can't coach children that don't want to better themselves, and I love that, you know, and every kid we've got always wants to better themselves, and we're getting great results from it.
Yeah.
So you should be giving your all in every session to get, you know, exactly where you want to be.
Yeah.
If you don't work hard at it, you're not going to get where you want to be in the long term.
I suppose as well, to get them to sign that mini agreement, it's a great foundation to actually build upon other life skills as well. It's like you're teaching a young kid to take responsibility, which I feel is really important today.
100%. In today's world, you know, it's changed since COVID. A lot of the kids don't go out. And, you know, when we was younger, you'd be over the park till like 10 o'clock, where you've been playing football. You know, you finish school, you're out until the lights go dark, and then you go home.
Yeah.
It's not today's world. But the kids, when you're getting them in, it's not just goalkeeping training. They are doing, you know, fitness, keeping them healthy, great for their mental health.
Yeah.
Learning new topics, new socialising with new children, which is massive as a life skill in itself. You're setting them up ideally so when they finish, if they don't become football players with ourselves or non-league goalkeepers, they're going to be going on and getting jobs, and they're used to timekeeping, working in groups, you know, and always delivering the best of their ability, which is massive for them getting jobs and interviews in the future.
So I suppose, yeah, in that respect, it's not just a goalkeeping academy, but that's the other aspect of BBGK that I really like, is that actually it does teach you punctuality, it teaches you responsibility, and it's so good for your mental health. So definitely advocate for all those particular avenues within the goalkeeping sort of sphere, really.
Yeah, agreed.
When I was away, I sort of momentarily called you with updates and all that sort of stuff, and I remember phoning you, and I could just hear the excitement from the other end of the phone, and you had quite a big announcement for me. So what was that announcement?
We've had one of our goalkeepers snapped up by Manchester City. So, yeah, he's got himself there.
Yeah.
The boy in question is a fantastic goalkeeper, just one of, you know, a little hidden gem that really deserves everything he's got, because he's worked hard. He's a fantastic goalkeeper with bags of potential that should be playing at that level. How can I explain this? He's got something about him which is unique. I remember watching Finn years ago when he was at Southend United, when he was under 11 or 10.
How long has he been with you?
A year and a half.
Right, okay.
And he just had something, and I see this a lot where you can look at someone and you just buy into everything you're seeing. Like, you can see him going onto TV.
Yeah.
And that boy is, he's just absolutely superb with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wish him all the best of luck with that one, and I'm sure we'll see him on the telly in the near future.
Well, it'd be great to try and get him on, really, have a chat with him.
Yeah, I think Finley could be our next guest.
That would be
That'd be
excellent.
great.
Tell me a little bit how he went on that journey from being in your academy to being recognised.
Okay, so with Finn come in, I knew his dad, James and Kendall, very well. He come in as a goalkeeper probably a year and a bit ago with, he'd been playing on pitch, funny enough.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he'd been playing on pitch. His side, Haybridge Swifts, he decided that he was going to go and goal with them this year.
So what level are Haybridge Swifts with regards to sort of...
EGA. So he's playing EGA football, which is the Essex Junior Alliance under 15s. He come in, and to be fair, it's quite a really, it's a great success story. Lovely family. His brother Curtis comes to us as well.
Oh,
He's an
okay.
under 13 goalkeeper, another highly talented kid that is just, top at his game. In November last year, Curtis got signed for Colchester United,
Right.
which again thoroughly deserved. Superb for him. And Finn was just like, not saying he was just flitting around, but he's too good a goalkeeper to not be playing at that level as well. So we had a little look. I wanted to see how he got on in the sessions, and he was smashing it with us. So I phoned West Ham. And I said, look, I've got a goalkeeper here. Fantastic. I think you're going to love him. He's got everything you'd want. His movement around the goal is superb. He looks athletic. He's got the spring. He's just superb in everything he does.
Yeah.
And we put him in for a trial. He done a 4-week, I believe. He was doing very well there, and West Ham really liked him. But I think he got picked up playing a game for West Ham up north, and then Manchester City come in for him.
Wow.
And obviously, once a club like that comes in for you, that's it. It's the end. You're going to go and sign for him.
Yeah.
Obviously, Premier League champions, European champions up till last year. So just an absolute juggernaut of a football team. Yeah, and for him to do that, he's going to be flitting around. Hopefully in the near future in the England under 15s from being there. So. Just an unbelievable experience, and definitely my best one yet. So amazing. Can't be any happier for him and his family.
How do you train the parents of your goalkeepers? I know it probably sounds like a bit of an unusual question, because obviously they need to be picked up after a game. They need to be sort of encouraged, and I don't know whether pushed is the right term.
They're all going to have bad games. You tell me a goalkeeper that hasn't made a mistake. Unfortunately, in goalkeeping, you make one mistake, it is a goal. Outfield player loses a ball, it's forgotten about within seconds. So, it's the biggest position in football where you've got to have strong, broad shoulders to take. Children have to adapt to that and realise that they're not perfect. They are going to make mistakes. And it's down to the parent really just to pick them up and have fun. They're not the coaches.
Yeah.
Let us do that, or let other coaches outside, if it's academy level, let them do the coaching, and they will be better just being mum and dad. Did you enjoy it? That's all that matters.
I suppose that definitely alleviates the pressure from that parent to have to deal with that situation of that kid losing as well.
Yeah, in any sport, every kid wants to be the best at what they do, and they don't understand, kids, that you have to make mistakes to learn. So if like Joe Bloggs has lost 5-0, argument's sake, on a Sunday, and he's conceded 4 goals which are his fault, they can't understand why they've made them mistakes, because they don't realise that you can't be perfect. It's not FIFA. You can't play and have a perfect round every week. But as a parent, I would just be there to support them, and say, look, that game's gone. You don't do that midweek, so let's do it again next week. And if it's the same results again where child's had a bad week, well, guess what? Next week will be better. You can only go up, not down.
So I remember watching a show on Netflix, and it was all about like elite mindset, and it was focusing particularly on the sports industry. And there was a women's team. It was an American women's team. One of the players went on to become the manager. She had played in this cup final, and they ended up losing. And she said she carried that loss with her for years, and it affected her mentally. She made it part of their sort of psyche that if you lose a game, I'm going to give you 24 hours to get over it. Is that something that you would teach to the kids if they come to you with a loss?
Yeah, of course. We always touch upon things like that. So every week we're probably 160, 170 goalkeepers strong a week. I know every week not 170 of them are going to keep a clean sheet, and have the best game they've ever had. You're going to get mistakes. It's just how we pick them up.
Yeah.
We have a conversation with them, say that exactly what I just said, that they're not perfect. You're going to make mistakes, learn from them.
Yeah.
The more mistakes you make when you're younger, the better the goalkeeper you are as you're older.
I do find as well that kids are quite resilient in that aspect, and because they're like sponges, I feel like if you can teach them that elite mindset straight away from being like 7, 8, 9 years old.
You can to an extent. Every child's different. Every child has a different background or a different mindset. Some kids are like really mentally strong. Some kids are just nice and soft, like have nice, soft, caring personalities. So everyone is different. That mindset has to be trained from an early age, but they won't all get it at the same time. It will come gradually. Some will get it earlier, some will get it later. And if you are a real soft, caring person and, you do take things to heart, you have to try to act it. So when you walk on that football pitch, you're there to win, you're there to do the best you can be. And when you walk off, then you go back to being how you are before, where you still have that nice, soft personality, but on the pitch you've got to act.
Just want to say thank you to today's sponsor of the show, which is ourselves. So BBGK Online, it's an extremely useful platform for coaches, parents and goalkeepers who want to learn from the knowledge of Ben and his amazing coaching staff, what it takes to get yourself to the top level of youth academy football, plus much, much more. It features easy to follow video tutorials on the correct way of warming up, spark training, dealing with crosses, one-on-ones. We also have mindset quizzes on there, how to get noticed by scouts, what scouts want to see in a goalkeeper, plus much, much more being added all the time. We're also on the verge of launching a very affordable monthly subscription too, so keep your eyes peeled for that. We'd also like to say a very special thank you to the Academy sponsors, Gilbert and Rose. Thank you very much for allowing us to use your amazing venue for this particular podcast. It's proven to be very helpful. We've come to a particular part in the podcast now called On the Spot, where I've asked your Academy goalkeepers and their parents to submit questions to ask you during the podcast. So we've got On the Spot.
Can't wait for this.
James Evans, I think his daughter is Darcy.
That's it, yeah, Darcy.
And she actually features on BBGK Online as well. So
Fantastic.
Thanks, James. So James has asked what your views are on female goalkeepers coming through the ranks.
I think the girls' games come on amazingly, and the women's game. It really is top level now. The girls that I've seen out there are unbelievable goalkeepers. The standards now got so much more higher that it's a credit to everyone involved in the women's game that they're pushing it on to the next boundary.
Yeah.
So that's probably through success of in this country where the women's team won the Euros, and what an achievement that was for them. So every little girl goalkeeper now has a role model in Mary Earps. Mm-hmm. They look at her, BBC Sports Personality of the Year, so you can't get any bigger than that. And she's pretty much evolved the girls' goalkeepers because that's a hero to them. So, fantastic for her. Yeah, and want to see more of them. Let's really build the girls' game.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I know you've got a few girls in your academy. They train with the boys as well.
It's about how good you are at your role. And, we place them accordingly to where we think they are in abilities. So yeah, love to see it. Girls' game, fantastic. I watch a lot of it. So yeah, let's just keep pushing them on, getting some more Merry Earps come through.
The next question is from Henry Spencer.
Henry Spencer, yes.
He's an under 9 with you.
Yeah, little Arsenal goalkeeper.
He has said, Ben says listening is the number 1 skill. What is second?
Very good question, Henry. So Henry picked up, he's not been with us that long. We had a session I think it was about a month and a half ago. And for me, I always say, what is the biggest skill in football? And you hear a lot of the kids when they first come in, it's a Rabona, it's a Neymar flick, or, all these skills that they've seen on the TV. And I said, no, biggest skill in football is listening, opening them ears. So when any child is coming into either a classroom or a sporting environment, the biggest way to learn and to better yourself is to listen to what the coaches are telling you. The more you can soak up, take on information, the quicker you learn. So that is obviously number 1 skill, but he wants to know what number 2 is.
Yes.
So for me, the number 2 would have to be your desire to work at your craft. So commitment. I think you only get one chance at what you do. And I'm quite a big believer in fate, and where you should be is where you end up through hard work.
Yeah.
I'm a massive believer in hard work, and I think, and I try to explain to every goalkeeper that once you turn up, you're privileged to be there, not with us. Mums and dads pay and book that. So they've done their part. They've got their kid the best they can possibly do for their training. Maximise your potential. Don't waste it. So when you're turning up for a session, the moment you step onto that grass or that AstroTurf, give your all. You should be walking out of a session saying, do you know what, I made mistakes tonight, but I left everything out there.
Yeah.
I give 100%. So for me, if you do that, you better yourself. I've got children that do that. They are playing at high level football. And that is such a big thing for me, commitment and, honing your craft. So I would say that number 2 is your desire to better yourself, Mr. Henry Spencer.
Great question, Henry. So next question, Jack Tilley has asked, what age do you think you can tell if a goalkeeper has something special to go far?
Okay, so that's a great question. It's a very hard subject because I suppose it's personal. So as a goalkeeping coach, we will all have an opinion of what we think is the ultimate goalkeeper. So footwork, build, coachability factor, hand shape, technique. But every kid develops at different ages. So for me, the old cliche, if you want to do academy level to an extent, if they're young, you have got to be at some height, as in, you have to look at parents, grandparents, are they going to hit over like 6'2"? Because today's game, the goalkeepers are tall. It does help them. It's not everything, but it is a big factor. So you would look at height. Secondly, children can evolve at different stages. So you might have an under 8 who's quite tall, but he's a beginner. So you wouldn't necessarily look at that goalkeeper and say he could be something amazing. You'll see it once they start working on their technique. And then it could be that an under 8 you've not looked at suddenly can become this unbelievable goalkeeper at under 10, where he's honing his technique and he's getting himself into a better position to get himself looked at by football clubs. One of my, I always say about this story, and it is another Henry, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying on camera. I had a boy, obviously run goalkeeping for like nearly for 10 years now. And we had a boy that I know very well with mum and dad, very good friends of mine, played at his futsal academy. And the boy in question was just mad as a March hare, if you like to say, just like running round on pitch, heading anything. He would run through concrete walls,
We all know
lovely,
those players
yeah, lovely,
in the team.
but a lovely kid. his dad picked up, this is like 2-3 years ago, Ben, he wants to be a goalkeeper. I said, okay, bring him in. Brought him in, and we looked, and he was very raw. We honed his technique, got his skills right. The most coachable kid that just listened to everything. So when I say about listening and skills, and just took every bit of advice on board. And within a year and a half, he'd signed for West Ham United, and he's there now. He's the under-13 goalkeeper.
Really?
But he come from relatively unknown, where even myself looked at him like he was a defender.
Right.
Because he just went under the radar.
Yeah.
It was only when he came in that we actually looked at it. So to answer Jack's question,
Yep.
you know when it happens, when you can see something where you might look at a goalkeeper and go, right now, I can't see it, but it's not to say that it won't happen.
Jack Tilley has also asked, what would you say is your most successful story regarding goalkeepers within BBGK?
For me, every child is a success story. Yes, you know, Finley joining Manchester City is a fantastic success story. You know, he's playing for the Premier League champions. Well, unless Arsenal pip them at the last minute, but you know, that is an unbelievable story. It's my first one that's gone to a top Cat 1 club. Henry Neighbour, another fantastic lad that has gone on from a relatively futsal defender. Within a year and a half, he's an academy goalkeeper at West Ham United. That's another amazing one. I've got a lovely little under-7 goalkeeper, Sonny Lark, wanted by everyone. Just a brilliant little success story. But they're all success stories, so I can't name every name. Obviously, you're looking for the ones that have signed for clubs. You know, kids that come into me, that, you know, they come in really beginners, and I love that. They're just as important to me as the boys that go on and sign for academies.
Yeah.
You know, you'll get a success story where you might have a boy that's come in, and I've got plenty of them, by the way, where they come in, they haven't done, you know, they've got to learn certain techniques in their handling, they don't understand the game, and then you'll get a message on a Sunday, and they'll say, like, little Joe Bloggs has, you know, he's saved a penalty or he's caught a cross.
Yeah.
And that's unbelievable, you know.
Yeah.
And then the confidence. So when you say success stories, they're all success stories in their own right.
Yeah.
You know, and I love to see kids, you know, that come in and, you know, suffer. They have to suffer a bit where, you know, they've got to understand they're not going to go in and play for England. They're going to come in, they're going to work hard, they're going to be the best of their ability. And yeah, so that's another really good one.
We are on to the second half of the podcast now. So the number one question I'm guessing all the viewers are going to want to know is, how do they go on to play for these Premier League clubs?
Obviously, you've got to be technically right. You've got to be highly coachable. You've got to have talent at the position. But in today's world, in football itself, there is a lot of hidden factors that go unnoticed. So again, to play at top level, you do need a bit of height. You have to have that minimum that you're going to get there at some point, because if you don't, you know, the clubs, are they going to invest in you for 3 years or a scholarship, and you're only going to hit 5'8"? You know, as a goalkeeper, yes, it's a bit hard because you do need to get them at that height. You need luck. There's kids out there that are good enough and they've just not been picked up. Luck is massive in it. You've got to have the right breaks at the right time, apart from just your coaching in what you're doing in your playtime. For me, I think you do need to work harder than others at what you do, and you've got to be dedicated to the craft.
I listened to Simon Jordan's podcast with John Terry, and I noticed that the commitment that he had to make it was like a mindset that I'd love to have, that mindset where he sacrificed so much to be able to sort of perfect what he did. You have to work harder than the next person.
Yeah, with goalkeeping, because there's only one position in a team as a goalkeeper, it's that much harder to break in these big clubs. You've really got to have a bit of X factor about you, something special. And I think it's so good to get the kids being their own individuals, rather than all copying the trend of, we need to be this way. Be individual. They might have an attribute that stands out from the rest, which makes you necessarily watch that child.
Yeah.
We've got kids like that, and you go, look, don't change who you are. That's going to help you for the future. But yeah, you're right. So if there's 5 goalkeepers we've got, or an academy has got, and they're all pretty much like for like, it's the goalkeeper that's willing to go, if they do an hour session, go home and do a bit more. If you need to work on your footwork, do some skipping, do some squats, do some plyometric work at home. The more you put in, you're going to get that out.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, they're all fighting for like really minute positions at football clubs. So you've got to do the best of your ability to make sure that if you're going to get there, you've got to stay there.
Yeah.
Henry's another example of, we used to have sessions where we would do an hour. He'd be working in a group, and his mindset was, if that goalkeeper's doing an hour, I'm going to do it 2 hours. So at the end of the month, I've done 4 hours more than what he's done. And that's got him in that mindset of what he's doing, and he's another advocate for doing plyometric work at home, strength and conditioning. And he's flourishing at West Ham for that. So I'm not saying that's for every child, but it doesn't hurt to work hard.
So I might get scolded for asking this, but when I was a kid, going in goal was almost seen as like a punishment, sort of, new kid in goal type thing, and you'd be like, you get handed the smelly gloves.
In other words, you're saying the worst football player playing in goal.
Well, that's what it was like. I mean, it seems so different now. Kids are actually really gravitating towards goalkeeping, especially sort of from what I've seen in the last sort of 2, 3, 4 years. Why do you think that is?
For me, I can talk on personal experience. I love being a goalkeeper because the pressure, the part of being a goalkeeper is you've got to be able to handle pressure. And I love that, and I think children love that as well. Even if they don't admit to it, I think it makes them strong leaders. The part of being a hero, what kid doesn't like that?
The hero dive and...
Yeah, penalty shootouts, some people would fear it. So for me, and if you talk to any goalkeeper, when it goes to a penalty shootout, you're not expected to save them all. So the pressure's on the striker. If you watch a striker in a penalty shootout, they are, unless you are cool as ice, same mindset.
Cole Palmer.
Yeah, their pressure, you can see it on them, when it gets to like international tournaments or even, local tournaments. But goalkeepers in general, it is a solo sport in a team game. You're in control of your actions and how you play the game. So yes, fantastic for them, for penalty shootouts, things like that, being a hero.
Yeah.
So I can see why a lot of kids do want to do it. There was a study done where we said that, with goalkeepers, they're in a high pressure environment. Unfortunately, in today's game, especially grassroots, not everyone understands that it's the hardest position to play.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I was a striker back in the day, so
and I bet
goalie was the nemesis. Yeah. And I tell you, there was a stage where I'd scored, I think in my first season I scored like 45 goals. I was a really good little striker. And then as I started getting older, and the like psychological aspect of the game, because I didn't have an academy, I just had sort of my Sunday football team, and it wasn't we wasn't taught mindset and stuff. It was like, sort of give the ball to so-and-so because he's really good on it and he'll go and score. It was sort of that mindset. But then when sort of you got a bit older into high school and you'd go and play against like another high school, there was already a rivalry.
Yeah.
But then facing that one-on-one, I don't know what it was. There was just something that sort of switched him, and I thought, I don't think I can score this. And more often than not, keeper would save it or I'd put it wide, and it just really started affecting me. So I could sort of see like the evolution of mindset from an attacker's perspective starting to change as I got a bit older, and I feel the goalie had that time to think, what can I do to stop this guy from scoring? So I found that their mindset became stronger over time than mine did. There's definitely a stronger mindset in keepers than there used to be.
Yeah, definitely. So even if a goalkeeper makes a mistake, let me tell you, every goalkeeper knows if they could have saved a shot or they've made a mistake or an error, but it's how you react to that.
Yeah.
Because as a goalkeeper, you're looked upon by your team as the saviour. You're the one that's going to, help us win the game.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, strikers, and it always will be, they are, the highest paid players, and rightly so. They win the game. Football is about scoring goals. But now the goalkeeper's role in a team is so important. All the best teams in the world all have top goalkeepers, because if you can stop the ball going in, there's more chance of winning the game. Any goalkeeper that makes a mistake from grassroots to academy level, is how you pick yourself up after the mistake. Because if you can move on and forget about it, because you can't change time, you're going to make your team feel better about it. You could not get up and, your head's gone and you're upset with yourself because you made that mistake. And then that energy will then go onto your defenders, your midfielders, and the team will feel that. They'll feel that, that environment of a mistake. So you have to just forget it, get up, let's go again.
Yeah.
And then it picks a team up. And a good goalkeeper has to have that.
Yeah. Yeah. They're the natural leader, because it's sort of the last line of defence as well.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
First line of attack, last line of defence.
Yeah. I'd just like to touch upon BBGK online. So when I first came to you, initially it was just about making a promo video. And we got chatting and we just sort of seemed to click. Like we talked about a lot of the same things. And I could see what your academy was doing and how well it was doing. And sort of mentioned the idea of putting an online course out there. People that were a little bit too far away, but still wanted knowledge of what you and your coaches can offer.
BBGK Online was made for children that can't always get to our sessions and other sessions around the country. So for them, you can learn how we coach online. You can watch the sessions back. It's for parents that want to understand the goalkeeping role, understanding the techniques we teach the kids, and they can watch it with their child, and they can set up their own individual sessions through watching what we do online. Football is for all, so there is a room there to cater for goalkeepers that can pay online and get up close and personal with what we do, but understand the techniques and the mythology around what we do.
So within BBGK Online, I've tried to sort of implement every aspect of what you do. Obviously, there's so much to BBGK and what you guys do. When I developed BBGK Online, I wanted to make sure that I was creating something that not only I thought people wanted to see, but actually what your academy members wanted in the course as well. So I feel like BBGK Online has been a real development of not only just me and you, but also with your coaches and with your goalkeepers and their parents as well. So I've tried to add in everything that I possibly can to benefit everybody that it's inaccessible to.
Yeah, so I think you've done a fantastic job on that, and I think you've hit most areas that we're looking for.
I'm very grateful for our viewers. So that concludes our first ever podcast. I want to say thanks to Ben for being the first guest.
You are very welcome, and I'm hoping we can get some real good personalities on here for the next one.
Yeah. So that's what it's all about, is adding value to everyone that's involved with BBGK, whether it's online or in person. That's always been my philosophy, is to try and exceed people's expectations, which is what we try and do at BBGK.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So once again, thanks for coming on. And
thank you, George.
We will see you on the next one.
See you on the next one. If you're ready to take your goalkeeping skills to the next level, let's get started.